I have realized that everyone is just so boring nowadays. I'm tired of it. You're probably tired of it. Heck, you might even feel like you're boring. So I'm gonna share a couple ways how you can be a little bit more interesting in today's world. Welcome to another creative podcast, because apparently the internet needed another podcast hosted by a creative person. I'm Janelle, a late 20s creative navigating life one lesson, one dream, and one existential crisis at a time. Think of this less like a podcast and more like a long voice memo from a friend who's probably asking the same questions you are. So, let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome to or back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm gonna ramble for a bit, so grab a snack, take a seat, do what you gotta do. Okay, now that I've grabbed your attention, I don't really think people are boring. I just think people have become so predictable nowadays. So many of us consume the same content. We buy the same things. We're watching the same things on TV. Honestly, just somewhere along the way, being curious and just being your own individual self got replaced with, well, consumption and following the status quo. And I'm kind of sick of it because, quite honestly, I've been boring too. But I got fed up with myself and decided to start doing a couple of things to kind of switch it up. And I'm here to share 10 ways I think you can become just a little bit more interesting. Now, before I actually dive deeper into the 10 ways you can become more interesting, I do want to acknowledge that we do live in a society based off of recommendations and algorithms that determine things for us. And that makes it a lot harder to really pinpoint your individual likes and opinions. And honestly, it does all the thinking for us. And I think we need to strip back to the basics and be a little bit more human and less with the system, if that makes sense. First up, be confident about what you like. I think it's really interesting when a person likes what they like and they're confident about it. Like, those two things hand in hand, I know so many people in my life who are like this, and it's magnetizing. I think this is something that we have kind of forgotten to do and express, just because, I'll be honest, a lot of conversations these days that people are having and I'm witnessing and even partaking in, people are just trying to keep the peace, keep the calm. So they're kind of just going with the flow or staying to themselves. And I think there's a time and place for that. But if you are trying to become more interesting, standing behind your own opinions, being loud about it, that's a good place to start, in my opinion. Now, the second point, I feel like I have to mention this because it just wouldn't be one of these videos if I didn't mention it. So I'll keep it short, but read books. Or if books aren't your thing, just consume different types of media. The whole point of this is just to expand your worldview, is to take in thoughts that aren't your own, but in a way that still allows you to digest it and reflect upon it in your own way. But this is not me encouraging you to scroll on TikTok for hours and hours and hours and listen to opinions that are not your own. This is me encouraging you to branch out of the regular media you already consume. So watch movies, go to an art museum, watch someone paint. Hell, you can paint. You could be Bob Ross. You know what? Just watch a Bob Ross video and then see how you feel. The whole point of this is just to simply expand your world. And I think a lot of us need that reminder from time to time, because this can lead to little findings for yourself or interesting conversations with others. I mean, think about it. Isn't it more exciting to tell someone about a book you read, a piece of artwork you admired, a DJ set you listened to, than, well, one of the 30 billion TikToks you watched all day yesterday? Now, for the third point, this may be a little controversial, but I don't care. I think you guys should question everything. I think we live in a society where we don't question things enough. I think we often accept things for face value, and we need to not. I truly think we should be checking our sources, double, triple, quadruple fact checking every single thing we come across on the internet, because how do you know if something really is what it is if you're not questioning it? And also, when did we become a society that so easily accepts all these things? It's actually quite wrong and twisted, and I think in today's day and age, if you're someone who questions everything around them, you're easily going to become a lot more interesting than most people. Simply just questioning the things you do not understand not only just makes you more interesting, but I think it shows people that you're willing to be vulnerable and be okay with not knowing everything. If you're someone, and I will admit, I've been this person who happens to be a know-it-all. Admitting that you don't know something is so tough. Same with like admitting you're wrong. They kind of fall hand in hand in like the feelings bucket. But I do think this is one way to stand out, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I actually think more of us need to be like this. On a more lighter topic, this fourth point I'm gonna make is a fun one. I think more of us should wear more of what we like. If you follow me on other social media platforms, I'm a big fashion girly. I love to dress the way I dress, and I like to express myself through the clothes that I wear, and I simply do not care what anyone says or thinks about what I'm wearing unless I don't feel good about it. But wearing what you like is such a great way to make yourself more interesting. Like, just expressing yourself on the outside and not wearing what's trendy, not wearing what every other person is wearing on Instagram, like not wearing the same outfit that's linked on everyone's Amazon storefront. Like, just wearing what you like and feeling good in it is such a great way to express yourself. And it's honestly a really easy way to make yourself stand out from the rest. So many fashion houses and brands exist because this is simply what they wanted to do. They wanted to stand out from the rest. They wanted to be more interesting than the rest. They wanted to provide something else that other brands weren't doing. And I think more of us need to use clothing as a form of self-expression more often. I remember one time my husband and I were talking about fashion and how he really grew to love fashion in his like mid to late 20s, and I was telling him how this is something I'm stupidly passionate about, and I don't often talk to people about it because I just kind of feel dumb. But he met me where I was at and was able to have a conversation with me about it, and he was saying that the cool thing about dressing up and dressing how you want is that you can essentially choose who you want to be every single time you put on a pair of shoes or a pair of pants. Like, it's this fun way of choosing to express yourself differently every single day. It's like a new opportunity to do so. And I think that's such a fun perspective to have on fashion and wardrobe. And so this is why I highly encourage any of you guys to try this as just a way of becoming a little bit more interesting than the rest. Now, this next point, it's not going to be a shocker to anyone. I often think most people recommend this right off the bat when it comes to wanting to be more interesting. Gosh, take a shot every time I say the word interesting. Actually, don't. I don't encourage that. Simply put, have a hobby. And I want to emphasize to have a hobby that you are not monetizing. I think when we talk about this point, a lot of us are forgetting that hobbies are a way for us to exist outside of ourselves, but also connect with people in our community who also share the same likes and interests. I'm a person with many hobbies, and all of them have led to me meeting so many people who have the same interests as I do, even though we're like completely different when it comes to our personalities or lifestyles or all these things. And as simple as it sounds, a lot of people actually don't have hobbies or may not realize that they don't have hobbies. I remember one time I was at a dinner party with friends, and some of us had never met, so we were all getting to know each other, and somebody asked me what I do, and I told them what I did for work, but then I kind of explained like how these were all hobbies that kind of turned into jobs, and then I explained like other hobbies, and at the time I was looking about starting other hobbies, and they kind of looked at me and were like, wow, that's so interesting. And I was like, thanks. And then I proceeded to flip the question back and ask them, what are your hobbies? And they were kind of stumped, and they then proceeded to say like they like to shop, they like to travel, and I was like, great, those are awesome, those are like hobbies, I think. But what I left out is like the first thing they said was scrolling on TikTok, and I was just like, that's not a hobby. And we need to stop normalizing it if it is. And yes, I'm shaming you if that's one of your hobbies, because like that's not good. But in all seriousness, just do something. Find something that you want to do and have fun doing it. Meet some people, connect with others. Just start a hobby. Start 10 hobbies. Just do it. And if it doesn't work out, at least you'll have some interesting stories to tell. To piggyback on that last point, my sixth point, I think will hit home with a lot of creatives because it's kind of how we've all gotten here, but simply be passionate about something or all things. Just give a shit about something. Like, caring is a very cool thing. This whole attitude or like this whole movement about like being nonchalant and casual about things is so dead. I think we need to do the opposite, and we need to love things and be passionate and be loud about it. I think it's very cool to care, and more of us need to do that. And on that same wavelength, I bring you to my 7th point. Teach people. And yes, you do not have to be a teacher. In fact, I think the fact that people who are teachers and don't actually try to bring this more into their lives, like throughout conversations when they're meeting people and stuff, are really missing out on being interesting. But that's another tangent I'm not going into today. Simply teaching people is a very cool way to be interesting in today's day and age. Being an educator or simply just sharing your advice or your tips and have fun doing so. Like, humbly educate others about things. Allow yourself to be a resource for others. That is such a good way to make yourself more interesting. Because instead of you taking in things from the world around you, you're putting things into the world. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. I think more of us should do that. Like, if you can do so, do it. I'm very passionate about people not gatekeeping education. And so if you're looking to be a little more interesting in today's day and age, teach other people things. It's a very cool thing to do. Okay, rest my case. Now, my next point is like on the opposite end of that. I think people who are always looking to learn something new are just always going to be interesting. If you've listened to my podcast before, you would know I decided to become a student again I'd say it's been a year now. Yeah, it's been a year since I've decided to become a student again. And gosh, has it been difficult, but I've never felt more young being on the end of learning things and being a beginner. Like, I feel like I'm almost being born again. Like, I feel like I'm learning new ways to go about my life after thinking I already learned so much and knew everything I was doing. Like, I've had just so much fun, and I think I know it's made me more interesting was because people are always so curious about why I've learned to do things after being an expert in other things. And I think more people need to embrace becoming beginners. And if you're looking to start a new hobby, that's a great excuse to become a beginner. I think that's worth trying. Heck, you won't be boring, that's for sure. Now, this next point I'm going to make, I think a lot of us often forget, but it's always great to be reminded that being a cheerleader for others is always going to make you more interesting, because it's really easy for everybody to be a hater nowadays. I think as a society, we don't uplift each other enough. We don't root for each other's wins and successes enough. I think that's why it's so important that we can do it for ourselves, because it's not guaranteed that the world around us will do it for us. And so I think that if you could be someone who essentially is the cheerleader for others, you're gonna garner some attention, and in the best way. Just the overall act of spreading positivity is easily gonna make you more interesting to the world. And you're gonna feel so good. Isn't that what we're all striving to feel at the end of the day? Last but not least, we've made it to the 10th point, and that is to simply say yes more often. Now, don't be a yes man. That's a whole different thing. Just say yes more often. Be open to new adventures, new opportunities. Just be a little bit more open to being spontaneous. I'm really bad at this, but lately I've been doing this more, and my life has just gotten so much more fun. I've gone on so many adventures I just never saw myself going on, and that's a good thing. I think we should surprise ourselves more often. I think we should find out what is going to happen if I follow through with the what if. Give yourself a chance to explore, expand your boundaries, and live a little. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It never has and it never will. Take a chance on yourself, make a change, and break away. Those were not my words, by the way. Those were the wise words of Kelly Clarkson, but it doesn't lessen the point I'm trying to make. I want you guys to go out there and be open to a world of opportunity, because just by saying yes, imagine what's going to come out from the other side, good or bad. Either way, you're going to be more interesting than those who never took a chance. And yes, it's gonna be scary, but being vulnerable is a good thing. Interesting people are vulnerable, and they just do the thing anyways. And after hearing myself rant for like 30 minutes at this point, I do want to add a little bonus point / perspective, and I want to remind you that being interestingness this idea is not an act. It's not an aesthetic. It's an action. It's a genuine interest in things outside of what everyone else is doing, and it's a beautiful thing. And I want you to embark on this journey of not being like the rest by enjoying being present in the moment and trying to do this thing for yourself. In shorter terms, for one to be interesting, they must be true to themselves, and that is what's going to draw people to you. That's what's going to make you stand out, and simply put, it's what's going to make you more interesting. So if you are tired of being boring, or you don't want to be boring like everyone else, and you want to be more interesting, read a book, be more curious, stay off your phone, be present in your life, try something new, be bad at something, be good at something, teach someone something, just do things, and simply just be present. And that's kind of all I have for you guys today. I would love to hear your guys' ideas on how one can be a little bit more interesting in today's world. So comment that down below wherever you're hearing this podcast or watching it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!